Okay, if you haven't already, I'd recommend grabbing yourself a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, whatever floats your boat, sitting down and just enjoying this video, because we deep it a little bit. We get some lo-fi music in the background to give it kind of more of a chill vibe, and yeah, we're going to go into mental health and a few of the questions you guys had. So enjoy the video. Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today's video, as you've just seen, is a little bit different to usual. Today's video is a Q&A on mental health, because obviously at the moment we've kind of got the perfect storm for negative mental health. We've got loads of uncertainty, a lack of exercise, a lack of social interactions, and not having the freedoms that we usually would, like the day-to-day routine. So it kind of leaves you alone with your thoughts with all of that going on, and that is not great, to be honest. It's not the ideal situation. Today's focus with this Q&A is on loneliness and social withdrawal. We'll also tackle some of the other general questions related to like study and the stress of study, the stress of exams, and all of that. So I'm just going to hop straight into all of the questions. I hope you can find this video helpful. I'm hoping it offers some kind of support and relatability that just helps you to feel a bit better with the situation you're in, because obviously whenever you feel like alone in a situation, it makes the situation so much worse. So hopefully I can provide a few stories that can help you not feel alone in the situation you're in, if that makes sense. But anyway, let's go. So the first question, now this is more for pre-COVID, but also slightly now, and when we kind of come out of the restrictions a bit, it is how do you deal with the negatives of FOMO and their amplification as a result of social media in relation to loneliness? Now this is a really great question, because obviously when you're stuck at home not doing much, when you see other people doing stuff on social media, and especially people you're close with, you get stuck in that mindset of like, okay, why am I not there? And kind of things like that. I know a lot of people go through those cycles where they'll see all of their mates and stuff going out on social media, and they'll have that FOMO and kind of question why they weren't invited, and it leads to them like questioning their relationship with those people. And I used to do the same. I used to do the same a lot. But at the end of the day, like, them going out with other people isn't affecting how strong your relationship is. It is not proving that they're not as close of friends with you. It's just circumstantial. They might have literally just been on like a call at the time and just said, okay, let's go out. Obviously it can be hard seeing them doing stuff without you, because you do have that fear of missing out and you want to be there. But at the end of the day, you can't control what other people are doing. So you've kind of just got to focus on yourself, make sure you're happy with whatever you're doing, and create those opportunities. If you're getting depressed and upset because people are going out without you, create those opportunities. Ask people to go out with you, invite your friends out, start going places. And even if it feels like you're putting in 90% of the effort, at the end of the day, you're doing that for yourself. You're not doing it for other people. If other people aren't necessarily making as much effort, you can only control what you can control. And even though that's quite hard and like a harsh reality, just focus on yourself and then look at those social opportunities, and each opportunity that you get to spend time with your mates as like a good opportunity and as a positive rather than a balancing game. You don't want to see people inviting you out as, okay, yep, now I feel like I'm slightly better friends with them. You want to see it as just an exciting opportunity to go out with them, and treat every opportunity like that, like an opportunity rather than a balancing game, because otherwise you just get caught in that cycle of, oh, I haven't been out with them in a while, oh, maybe they just don't want to spend time with me and all of this. And it's just like, yeah, at the end of the day, it isn't that deep. Treat all of the times that you get with them as like a great time, and really value that time, because that's all you can do. I hope that makes some sense. The next question, and this kind of relates to that, is do you often feel isolated from others? Now, this is a great question, because obviously when you don't speak to, say, someone in a while, or your friendship group in a while because you're busy with like study or work or whatever it may be, or you just aren't in a great mental state and you haven't really spoken to them for a while, when you see things on social media of them going out, you do tend to feel isolated from those people. But what you've got to remember again there in that situation is what I've just explained. It isn't as deep as your mind makes it. You kind of overthink a lot of things, and it's very difficult to just enjoy time when you have those kind of thoughts flowing through your head. So when I find myself in that situation, it's okay to kind of think about it for a minute, but then you've got to acknowledge the fact that they're not doing this with any intent. They're still really close mates, and if you want to rekindle that friendship or whatever, then just message them, ask them to go out, ask them to do something. But otherwise, just kind of take that time and just do something to like work on yourself. Just take some time to, I don't know, watch some TV or listen to music and do things that you enjoy, because otherwise you'll get stuck at home and thinking about all of the time you're missing by not being out with them or not having those people to be with, and you're almost isolating yourself. When those isolating thoughts come in and you let them take control of you, that's when you further that isolation, and that's when it just gets worse and worse. And I've been in that situation before. Honestly, throughout, I think, GCSE and maybe the start of year 12, I'd go through cycles where I'd be really close with my group and then I wouldn't speak to them for a few days just because I had different lessons to them and I had loads of work and stuff like that. And you start to feel isolated. Then when you feel that isolation, if you let that thought and that mindset take control, it just spirals away and it gets to the point where you genuinely think you have no one there for you, but then you just speak to them once and everything's fine again. Like, it's ridiculous how your mind amplifies all of these situations for the worst. So try not to deep it too much, listen to music, do some stuff you enjoy, and then just go and message them or speak to them and do something with them to kind of reset your mind and realize that actually it's fine. And the only reason you feel isolated is because those prior thoughts have led to you further isolating yourself. Okay, I actually just want to add something to that. I feel like with these situations, at the end of the day, with the relationships with your friends and all of that, it's only as good as the effort you put in. You're not going to have a strong friendship with those people if you don't put the effort in as well. But it's easy when you get into those isolated cycles to feel like that person isn't willing to spend time with you and to message you and all of this. There's only one way to find out. You just got to message them, you've got to put in that effort. 99 times out of 100, it's just going to solve all of the problems and just stop that feeling of isolation that comes with those negative thoughts and that spiral down into the state of feeling like you're not actually friends with them anymore. So just message them, just go out with them and put in the effort into that relationship, because you only get out of it what you put in. Nice. Okay, now this is a more general mental health question. It is, when you get stressed and panicked about exams, how do you avoid isolating yourself from others? Okay, this is another great question. Usually when you get stressed and kind of panicked about all of the work that you have to do, you just push everyone away and you feel like deep down you have to do that in order to do all of the work and get it all done. And honestly, I've done this as well so many times. When I have exams coming up and I'm getting stressed and I'm like overwhelmed by everything that I have to do, I turn down going out, I turn down like general family time and spending time with people to force myself to work. But then when I do that, the work isn't productive. I don't get enough done. At the end of the day, you can't work 24/7. You need that time with people and to do things you enjoy doing in order to do the work to the best possible degree. Like, I come to realize that over time, that it's about balancing your time so that you have those opportunities to kind of recharge and have those interactions that mean you're not just working all of the time and not enjoying the process, because otherwise you get into that depressed mind state and you get overwhelmed by everything that you have to do. If you break it down and say, okay, I can do this and then I'll have some free time to spend time with people or talk to people or whatever, and then I'll carry on and do that, you feel more regenerated for the next cycle of work. Whereas if you isolate yourself, it leads to really negative emotions because you feel like you've isolated yourself, and that's never great. And then that comes off in your work. You're not motivated to do work and you just end up breaking into a cycle of isolating yourself and just feeling really down all of the time. And it can be quite hard not to do that, but you've just got to think, okay, in reality, doing this isn't going to be very beneficial. I just need to have that balance and get on with it. Yeah. Okay, now again here, obviously you do have to make sacrifices and you do have to dedicate a lot of the time to the stuff that you actually need to be doing and the stuff that you're working towards. Otherwise you won't get anything done. But it's about having the flexibility to move those tasks around social activities and stuff like that, making time to recover from the intensity of work and making time to do things that you enjoy doing. Because even though, yeah, you need to put a lot of effort in and a lot of work in, it shouldn't be all of that, because that's not what life's about. Do you know what I mean? Life's about experiences, and you want to be making experiences as you're putting in the graft to get to a position where you can have more opportunity for more experiences. Okay, this is a great question now, and it's quite relevant at the moment. It is, how am I coping with the current uncertainty? It depends what you mean by coping, because obviously it's difficult. It is really difficult at the moment with so much just unknown. Like for me, I don't know if you watched any of my previous videos, but in the Taking On 2021 episode 5 and the video that I posted that was a derivative of that video, I kind of explore all of the uncertainty that I have at the moment and that we have as students, for things like whether or not our A-levels are going to be on, how they're going to kind of assess our grades, whether or not I want to go to uni or take a gap year, how uni's going to look, and all of these things that just mean you don't have definitive goals to work towards and you're kind of trapped in holding off for the clarity. And that isn't ideal, obviously, because like I said before, you need those goals to work towards, otherwise you're kind of just working for the sake of working, and that's just not great for your mentality whatsoever. But obviously we know that it is going to clear up eventually, and although it might not be great now, you've got to look for the long term. And that's really hard to do because we don't really know how that long term is going to shape out. But if you can put yourself in a better position than you are currently to deal with all of those potential clarifications, for example, if we have some sort of exam, have you prepared enough to take that exam? Or when you come to the decision to decide whether or not you want to take a gap year, do you have enough information to be able to make a decision as to whether or not you want to take one, if that kind of makes sense? So just kind of do things to put yourself in a better position to deal with the clarification when it comes. So with this uncertainty, you're kind of building up everything so that when something changes and something becomes clearer, you have enough of a foundation to be able to tackle it. Yeah, but if you can kind of apply that general idea to the specifics that you're dealing with and the uncertainty at the moment, then that's definitely going to help. Okay, and then tips for dealing with these emotions. To be honest, I feel at the moment it's really easy just to get cooped up inside and not go out for days, not speak to anyone. But that's obviously not helping at all. I have done that a fair few times, I'm not going to lie, but what I find to be one of the most helpful things is A, just messaging people, just checking on how they are and just getting into general conversations. That just kind of helps to get a bit more relatability and see that people are in the same situation as you. You're not alone and you can just talk to people. Then going outside, getting out, listening to music, that just kind of helps to get you out of the limited paradigm that you experience when stuck inside. Your perspective is completely limited to what's in your room and what's in your house. When you go outside, you realise that actually things you worry about aren't very significant. You can just kind of get lost in the music, get lost in podcasts or whatever, and continue to remind yourself that there's more to life outside of this uncertainty than is currently available right now. It's easy to think that this is going to be life forever, but we've got to remember that there's so much of the world that we haven't seen, that we can travel to, so many things that we can do, concerts we can go to, clubs we can see, people to meet, and experiences to be experienced. So yeah, I feel like going out, going on those walks, listening to podcasts about those things, watching videos like travel videos, stuff like that, just helps to kind of recenter your mind and open your view beyond the limitations of the room and the limitations you've accumulated over the last year or so. Have I ever dealt with anything related to depression, and if so, do I have any advice? I think it's obviously hard to quantify what is depression and what isn't. You have like negative thoughts and you get into negative cycles that can be really, really hard to get out of. I wouldn't go as far as to say full-on depression, because I feel like there is a definitive difference. But yeah, I've had times where I felt really low and just really poor. But how I kind of get out of it is I kind of, when it gets really bad, I'll just look at myself and kind of remind myself of the opportunities that are out there that are yet to be seen and be fulfilled, which sounds odd and it does sound difficult. All of the things that stress you out and lead to those lows, you've got to look at and think, actually in a year this is going to impact me. In the future, looking back, should I actually be worrying about this? Because it's easy to get into fixed mindsets and fixate on things that in reality aren't particularly relevant and aren't particularly important. So even sometimes it's just important to disconnect yourself from social media and stuff like that. Maybe delete all social media for a day and then just get out the house, go on walks, go on cycles, listen to as much music as possible, because music is genuinely a lifesaver. I'm not even joking. And just forget for that day everything. Just do whatever you end up doing on that day. Don't have any intentions, don't have any plans, don't have any responsibilities. Drop it all for that one day. Likelihood is you'll realize that the things that are causing you to feel so low in reality aren't important, and because you've been fixating on them so long and because you've had the pressures of everything that you were responsible for, it's meant that it's built up to the point where it seems hugely important when in reality it isn't. Final question is, how do I get rid of repetitive thoughts and how do I get out of a low cycle? The answer to this one's similar to the last question, but what I do is I probably just turn off everything, lie down or go on a walk and listen to loads of music for however long it takes for me to kind of gain a bit more strength to tackle all that I was needing to do. But while you're in that state, just forget about everything. Just kind of zone out and just think about whatever comes to mind, and then you'll kind of tackle everything that you need to tackle mentally. And once you've done all of that, then just get back to it and you just should feel a lot better. Yeah, okay, I think that's going to be it for the questions. I obviously haven't been able to answer all of the questions you've asked, but I've chosen the questions that kind of cover the broadest topics and cover the most ideas that the questions you asked covered, if that makes sense. But hopefully this video has been helpful. Hopefully it's given you some more stories to relate to and ideas to help you moving forwards and to help keep your mental state strong throughout the rest of this lockdown. I mean, it is going to be hard. It is going to be challenging to do that, but hopefully with some of these ideas, you're going to be in a better position to tackle all of that. But otherwise, that is it for me today. So I hope you've enjoyed. The next video is going to be, if this video comes out on the weekend, it's going to be taking on 2021. If not, then it's going to be the GCSE to A-level Q&A, as well as lots more content. So if you did like this video, don't forget to drop a like, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.